Now the other thing I can do is I can add in some titles as well. So I want to do that. I want to put a title here. That's me. So let's click on titles. I'm going to come back to audio in a moment. Let's click on titles. You've got lots and lots of different titles, and you can see that as you move over it will show you what they look like, and if they've got a bit of animation on them it will show you, so you can put those in. I want to put a title in for my name underneath here, and that's normally what's called a lower third, and this one's going to move. It says expand. Can you see it there? Let's just pop that in. I'm just going to pop it here so it doesn't come up immediately. There's a little bit of a gap at the beginning. I'm going to type my name in, and if I click off of that, that's done it. If I click back on, if I double click, it allows me to edit it. I'm going to leave it as it is. I could potentially, let me just double click on it again, I could change the color, I can change the font. So if I click on color, I can choose a color here. There's various options I could choose from. Let's choose blue, see what that's going to look like. You want to make sure that it's readable. You can do bold, italic, and you can also do it as outlined as well. You do also have different fonts you can choose, but actually I like the look of this font, so let's keep that there. How does it look?
Where we live, we see
there you go, and it fades up. Probably not quite the right color, and in fact, actually, let's just click on that. Maybe we'll just go back to having, well, maybe we'll put yellow. Let's do yellow. That might work. Yeah, I think that's not too bad. Okay, so I can add that in, I can add more in, and I could click and drag that to change the time. You can see how long it's on the screen for. 3.4 seconds. It was 4 seconds before. 4.0 seconds. And you can just slide it along if you want. I'd like to have a title right at the beginning. Now, I could just do this. I could click and drag and pop it in the beginning, and guess what? It pushes everything along. I'm going to undo that. Command Z is undo, or I could have gone into edit and chosen undo. I want a background there. Let's just click on backgrounds. Look at all these different backgrounds. You've got all sorts of things. I could use an image, but I want to show you using one here. So I'm just going to pick any one of these. Let's choose organic. You can play around with these. You can all change them later. So there's my background, and you can see it's got a bit of animation on it. I can now go back to titles, and I could put something in here, such as what would look interesting. What about this one? Let's drop that in. Let's put that in. And it's too long. I'm going to change the size of it. Let's just click and drag. Maybe move that along just a little bit. Let's call it Neighborhood Cats. British spelling. There we go. Let's pop that in. Let's see what it looks like. You can have a field day playing around with all of these. You can go through and try them, change the colours and so on. And the colours, just like before, I can click on here. If you can't see them, just click on that T for text button, and you can go and change the colours, the size, and so on. I want to put a transition between these two, so just a reminder, I go to transitions here. I think I'll do this cross blur. Let's pop that in there. Whoops, it's trying to get a bit clever, and it's moving things around that I didn't want. Did you see that happen? Let's just see. So always check what it looks like. Not all transitions always work just right. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my media here. And I'm going to go back to audio, because I can add in music. This is picking up my iTunes music, and I could click and drag and put one of them in here. Problem with my iTunes music is it's probably by a famous artist, and it's probably got copyright. So if I was to put that on something like YouTube, it will probably detect it and then stop me from using it. It'll block the video, and you don't want that to happen, because you don't want to have them doing anything like having your account disabled because you've been breaching copyright. Just to see how it works, you can click and drag and just drop it down here. Everything else I do with this, when I put in my own music, which is royalty free, I'm just going to delete that, will work, and all the things like adjusting the volume and things like that will work the same way. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. You do have sound effects, they're built in here, and this can take time for it to populate here. So there we go. Oops, it's come up with some. So I could have cat meowing here, so you can drop that in. So let's see what that sounds like.
Lots of cats. Our neighbours have.
Actually, it doesn't sound very happy, but you can go looking through them. Now, that could be an awful long list. At the top here, there is a search option. So you can type in cat and find the one you want. Cat purring might be nicer, so let's just delete that one and pop this one in. So, and that might be a bit long.
Have lots of cats. Our neighbours have cats. We have cats.
I can change the volume of it. I'm going to do that in a moment. If any of you have used GarageBand, where you can create your own music, you can click on there and they will appear here as well. But I do have some music. It's royalty-free music. Oh, and you can see anything that you've added from your Photos app or from iTunes now does appear here as well. This clip happens to be a bit of music. It's royalty-free music. I did pay for it. It was something like £10. You can get free royalty-free music, which you can then use. And there are places that you can go to if you Google it, where you can find free that you don't have to pay. I'm just going to choose this here. I've pressed I to select it. I'm going to click and drag this down into here. It's going to be way too long. And you can see you can have more than one kind of layer of music, in the same way that I had more than one layer over here of video. I'm going to scroll across. So actually this it's not long enough. I could, if I wanted to, add more in here, and hopefully they just match up. They might not. You might have to fiddle around with it. Things that you might want to do on any audio track is change the level. Up here in my monitor window, I am just going to click on this one here. It looks like a little speaker, the volume button, not too dissimilar to this one at the top. If you click on it, you can now change the volume of the thing that you've got selected. So I can just drop this down. So let's have a listen.
Have lots of cats. Our neighbours have cats. We have.
That purring's probably a bit loud. Let's go here. Click on my volume again. Let's drop it right down.
Cats. We have
Maybe
cats.
just slightly in the background. You can play around with these things to get it right. I can change my volume as well. I can click there and I can increase it.
Opportunity to take some wildlife photos.
Might be a bit too loud. Can you see at the top here it's changed colour? That normally means it's too loud. It's what's called clipping, and it could be distorting that. You want to bring it just a little bit below that. Another way that you can change the volume is there is a line here, and if you move the mouse over it, it becomes a double-headed arrow, and you can click and drag to slide up and down. It's not allowing me to do it. There you go. You can change it just like that. You can make it fade in as well. If I go over this little circle here, and this applies to the music, I can get the double-headed arrow, and that now fades in. So I can do the same here with the not quite. I can do the same here with the music. There we go, and you can see a line showing how it's going to increase in volume.
We seem to have lots of cats. Our neighbours.
Sometimes it's nice, rather than as a bang for the music to come up, you just make it fade in. One last thing, let's just put some credits at the end here. So again, I'm going to go to my titles, and you've got all sorts of scrolling credits. This is kind of the traditional kind of thing. You can see there's some fun stuff like the Star Wars style and so on. But let's add this in. Let's drop that in here, and all you have to do is go and type in the names. So there's me as, oops, I hit the caps lock there, as himself. You could put what character they are. Then I've got Socks as herself, and so on. and I could add the others in, or I could go and delete them. Just highlight them and press delete. So there now are my credits. How about that? You've just created your first movie. Well, it might not be your first, but you know what? It's not a bad start. I could have a background on that as well. I could just go to my backgrounds here. Let's put this curtain one down here. What you do is you pop it there, and then you move this one on top, and then you can drag that out so they line up. There we go. So now I've got my cast over this curtain that's just billowing behind it. Okay, once all of that's done, you're probably thinking, how do I save it? Well, it's been saving it all the way through, which is just a neat feature of iMovie. You do not need to save. It is doing it as you go. I'm going to now share this. This is kind of like the exporting of it so that I can then play this somewhere else. And you can do that because in the top right hand corner, just like on so many things that you say, like on social media and so on, is my share button. If I click on it, I can choose where I want to share it to. Now, when you do share, these can take a while to export. They basically what's called render them out. I just want to turn it into a file that I can then share wherever I want later. So actually create a file on the computer where I want it, rather than putting it into an email. If you've got a YouTube account, you can put it onto YouTube or Facebook or Vimeo, and it exports it straight out. The image would just do a still image of wherever you are on your timeline. So if it's here, I would get a still image from that. Let's go to File. It's got a name for the movie. Let's change that. Cats. You can change the description. The tags are iMovie. I could put in commas here for each one. Cats. So this can make it easier to find later. You want to export the video and audio. You can just have the audio only if you want to turn it into an audio podcast. The resolution, 1080p is high definition. That's good for most things. If you filmed it in 4K, like I did, which is ultra high definition, you could use that. 720p is a lower version of high definition, and 540 is standard. We're going to stick with the 1080p. The quality is the best. I always think that's a good idea to do that unless you're struggling with disk space. So here we go. That's choosing best ProRes. You can see it's telling you how long the film is, and this is the estimated file size, so 1.46 gigabytes. If I go to high, you can see it's made a massive difference, 237 megabytes compared to that. Let's call it about 6 times difference. What if you go medium? Wow, even lower. Good for emailing. Well, actually, even that's a bit too big for emailing. I tend to err on the side of best. Now what you can do is you can export it at its best, and then you could, if you wanted smaller versions, you could then export it again with a different file name in the lower version, so you've got different ones to use. This compress faster or better quality? Well, that answers your question. Better quality takes longer, faster maybe not such good quality, but I'm going to put it on faster because this can take time. I'm going to click on Next. It wants to know where I'm going to put it. It happens to go to the folder where I imported everything, which I had open before. I could create a new folder, or I could put it somewhere else, and you probably know how to choose other folders and where to put them. If you click on Save, you've now just got to wait. And this could take a few minutes. And you can see at the top here, there's a circle, and that will change. It will begin to look like a pie chart showing you the progress. There you go. Now you can see this might take a while, so we'll come back in a moment. Okay, so that's done because that's disappeared. Actually, that didn't take too long, maybe a minute or two. So that's not bad. We'll go and find that in just a second, just to have a look at it. So once I'm done, up at the top here it says projects, return to projects when I do. It wants a name for it. I could leave it as is, but I think I'm just going to change this. Oops, let's get that right. And click OK. And there you are. If you want to come back to it, you just double click. Let's go back, click on projects, and over here you've got these 3 dots. You can play the movie, open the project, you could share the project from here, you could rename it, duplicate it, which could be useful because you might want to play around, change things, but you're trying some things out. Filmmakers are always experimenting and you don't want to mess up the original that you've got, so duplicating it could be useful. Let me just click on duplicate, you'll see what I mean. There you go, it calls it Neighborhood Cats 1. If you wanted to rename it, you could do that just by choosing rename, click off of it and it's done. You could delete the project if you wanted to get rid of it. So don't forget, as I said, it does actually save it as you go along, so it's a really good kind of feature. I could play it from here. Let's go play movie. And I can see it there. Let's go and have a look for the file. So I'm just going to go to my Finder, and I happen to have it on the right folder in the first place, and there it is, neighborhoodcats.mov. Now, I could double click on it to open it in QuickTime. Little quick trick is you can just press the space bar here, and this works on any movie file that will play on a Mac, but if I press that, it will start playing in here. And there you go. And I could make it full screen to see what it looks like as well. There you go, and I could share it from here too, which would allow me to send it. There we go. So there you go. There you've got your movie. So here I am back on iMovie. If you want to know more, I am creating more videos on how to use this. I'm going to show you how to use this on an iPad and an iPhone. Do subscribe, that will keep you up to date, or come back here and look in the descriptions below. I always put the links to other useful videos in the links below. And I am regularly updating my videos as well. So if you want to know more about filmmaking, editing, I will be doing some on Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro, which is the big brother of iMovie. Then do come back. Thanks for watching. Have fun making films and stay safe.